Well, hi, good morning, and thanks so much for joining me in my shop here. What I'm going to be doing today is trying to resolve the dirty button problem, or dirty switch problem in this radio, which I've done a couple of shots at it, and it still hasn't worked out. So I decided to take a really careful approach on this and really dig into this whole question. Simple question of cleaning switches. And luckily, this radio comes with a set of really dirty switches I can bring right out on my bench, and that's these ones. And I'm not saying these are causing problems in the radio, but they're good examples of dirty switches. They're right out there to be looked at and viewed. And we can work away on these. It's just up on the top here. And we can imagine that whatever we can see in here is basically the same thing that's going on behind these buttons, which is where the real problem is. In fact, it's the FM button that's particularly a problem. So normally in a situation like this, I just grab my can of WD-40. Some of you get squeezy, a little bit squeezy, get squeamish when you see WD-40 coming out here. I'm not trying to promote anything or any method or whatever. This is what I do. You do what you do. That's great. This is usually what I rely on though. So, but I do have some other options here since I've already WD-40'd, not this switch, but these ones. It didn't get anywhere really, or didn't get all the way. Look at this amazing collection of household chemicals that I can release on this radio if I want. Hey, release is a good word, release. So I'm just going to run through each of these products carefully. I'm teaching myself what is in them, how dangerous they are they useful or not. A couple of these I'm going to eliminate pretty quick as of no use. So let's start with the WD-40. My understanding of WD-40 is it's a secret but probably not so exciting combination of oils and solvents. Now, yes, the WD actually stands for water displacement formula number 40, and this was actually made to be sprayed on the outside of rockets so they wouldn't be damp. Can you believe it? And it turns out it's a good lubricant, and there you are. It's been marketed for years. Everybody knows about this. Everybody has it. What are the dangers here? That's where I really want to read. That's where the truth comes out. First aid treatment contains petroleum distillates. I don't think they're going to be any more specific than that because it's a secret formula. And what is a petroleum distillate? Something you cracked out of oil. That's what it is. So, oil and solvent. When you spray it, a fair bit of stuff comes out. But if you watch, after a little while, most of it's just gone. It's just evaporated away. This is particularly useful to me in many situations where I have something that's sticky. You can spray this stuff. It'll dissolve the old lubricant, just as what I did with the AM radio tuning shaft here. Spray this stuff in, give it lots of time. The solvents penetrate, loosen everything up. If you put enough in my imagination, I'm kind of washing out the old stuff. Probably not really the case in a long sleeve and shaft arrangement, but nevertheless, a solvent goes in, wakes up the old lubricant, and then you have some new lubricant going in too. Ultimately, this stuff works for me all the time. That's why I use it. The word is this stuff can be bad for some non-electrical parts. Fiber parts and things like that. That's the word out there on the street. We all know what this stuff is. Here's an alternative to it. So I have no idea what's in here either, but you can guess it's the same kind of thing. Some kind of oil being sprayed under the pressure of some kind of gas, maybe naphtha gas, maybe something else. Let's see what it says about this. First aid treatment contains mineral oil and carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide must be the gas pressure in here. If swallowed, call a poison control center or doctor immediately. If breathed in, move person to fresh air. If in eyes or on skin, rinse well with water. If on clothes, remove clothes. What? What, and carry on naked? What are they trying to say here? Wow, it looks like a nice friendly product, but I'm going to end up naked if I use this stuff. So, it also says biodegradable, non-toxic. Huh? Non-toxic. Take your clothes off. If you're breathed in, how can they possibly say non-toxic? If you drink it, call the doctor immediately. Non-toxic. And they put this up front in print where you're going to see it, and they hide the truth back here. This is a terrible product. This is terrible. I can't believe it. It's safe. No, it's not in the fine print. So I use this stuff as the same way I use WD-40 for lubrication. I don't think there's any solvents in here in particular. And the top doesn't even go on. So he's going away. Going away. Off the bench because I don't want to get naked here. So here's another alternative. So that's different. So here we are. Electrical contact cleaner. Bought this in Canadian Tire. That's a big automotive leaning hardware store here in Canada. People love Canadian Tire in Canada. Contact cleaner. You can see it has a picture of what looks like an automobile type contact. So you just spray it in, spray it in. Look at the magic of this. Now, the difference between these two is extraordinary because this one contains no oil. So this is similar to my mind, and you know what? I got another solvent I just realized, to a brake cleaner. You buy brake cleaner, spray it all over your brake rotors and that to remove any oils that are on there. How does it remove the oils? Because you're spraying a highly volatile solvent onto an oily surface. The oil, this is my understanding of it, okay, so I'm not a chemist here, but the oil is dissolved into the volatile liquid, and then the whole thing evaporates away. It carries away the oil, and the oil is gone. And you know, if you've ever used that spray for your brake rotors, you know it works. It's amazing. So what is this exactly? This is not brake cleaner, but what is it? Let's read it again here. Contents may catch fire, container may explode, contents harmful. Do not smoke, do not puncture, do not burn, do not swallow, do not get in eyes, do not use this stuff. Do not breathe the fumes. Use only in a well-ventilated area. Keep away from flames such as pilot light, any object that sparks, like a radio I guess, such as an electric motor. Store away from heat. Keep out of reach of children. Oh, well, I'm done now. I'm a big kid. First aid treatment. Here comes the truth. Contains heptane, I think that's a gas, and propane. And those are the gases that are propelling it out. That's why you're so concerned about. Hey, you could cook a hot dog with this stuff here. Contains heptane, propane, and isopropanol. Isopropanol. Keep that in your head there. Isopropanol. If swallowed, call the poison center, doctor immediately. Do not induce vomit. If in eyes, rinse with water at least 15 minutes. Can you imagine hosing your eyes with water for 15 minutes? If on skin, rinse well with water. So when I use this stuff, and I have on these kinds of buttons here, this, you know, and any radio with push buttons, what I find afterwards is the button, as you push the button, it's causing pieces of metal to slide. And after you clean it with this kind of stuff, it's really grindy. It's really that's why I like this stuff, because it leaves a touch of oil behind. Never seems to interfere with the electrical switch itself, and you get smooth operation. There's a song like that, isn't there? Smooth Operator. So this guy is useful, but you have to remember when you're done, there's nothing left in there to lubricate anything. And what is it actually? Yeah, isopropanol. Remember that. So let's look at this. It's just your basic rubbing alcohol. Rubbing alcohol? Would that be the right word for this? Isopropyl. Isopropyl. Isopropanol. Oh, obviously one of these is better than the other. Isopropyl. First aid, we know what this stuff's used for. So I like this stuff because I don't think it's very dangerous. And it's a solvent and it dissolves stuff, and I use it for cleaning things that are oily and other stuff. I believe it's fairly harmful. Warnings. Keep out of reach of children. Alright, well, that's it for me already. For external use only. So, no treating of COVID with this. Oh, I shouldn't have said that word. Avoid contact with eyes. If contact occurs, flush eyes with water. Discontinue use and consult a healthcare practitioner. Discontinue use. If irritation and redness develops, where? In your eyes? Flame. If redness develops, call the doctor. Okay, it's just the way they wrote the sentence there. You can imagine people are reading this in a panic, right? Because the thing has fallen over and splashed right into their 2-year-old eyeballs, and they're in a panic, and they're trying to read this little fine print here. Flammable. Keep away from open flame and sources of heat. Do not ingest. Well, you just no hope of solving the scourge with this stuff. Stop use and consult a physician if condition persists or gets worse. What condition? Use with caution on children. Oh, of course, yeah, you're applying this right on people, so there's a little more concern about getting this into places you might not want it. Do not apply over large areas of the body. That's interesting. In case of deep or puncture wounds, like if you've been stabbed, animal bites, like maybe your hand is missing now, or serious burns, consult a healthcare practitioner. I shouldn't laugh. Here we are. Ingredient. That's French. How come it just switched to French? Because it's written up here. Isopropyl alcohol. 91%. So you could actually, an external use, this is good. This is pretty good against the scourge. After all, what do you think's in all those hand sanitizers we're using? Some of this was, I don't know, some glycerin or something to make it gooey? I don't know. So this is good. This is good. This has its place. We got some more here. Look at this thing. Goodness knows why. I brought this in only because I saw it out in my garage. Heavy body paint and varnish remover. I don't think this is appropriate for use in a radio at all, but removes layers of paint. But what is it? What is this actually? Here we are. Harmful, irritate eyes, fumes harmful, do not swallow, may cause blindness if swallow, do not get in eyes or skin or clothing, do not breathe flume, blah blah blah. Dizziness, well ventilated, push down cap, child-proof, first aid treatment. Here we are. Contains methylene chloride, methyl alcohol, and toluene. Toluene. Oh my gosh. Okay, so those are pretty scary chemicals. The toluene. I think if you have toluene, there is a contaminant that comes along with it, which is very carcinogenic, I think. If swallowed, call a poison center. Do not induce vomiting, blah, blah, blah. Okay, this guy's leaving because he really has no role here. That's definitely, use that stuff outdoors. Now, what about this? Acetone. Continue the chemistry lesson here. Uses include thinning fiberglass resin and adhesives. Dissolving 2-part epoxies. I didn't know you could do that with this. So I don't use acetone very much. Cleaning tools used for epoxies and lacquers. Can we use this on a switch? Do not smoke. That's always good advice. Do not swallow. Well, at some point in life you have to swallow. Do not get in eyes. Avoid prolonged skin contact. Keep out of reach of children. Wear rubber gloves. Use only in well ventilated. Blah 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 blah. First aid treatment. Here it comes. Contains acetone. Contains acetone. If swallowed, call the poison control. Call that doctor. In fact, you know what? Have a doctor standing by. Do not induce vomiting. If an eyes, rinse with water 20 minutes. They discovered that 15 wasn't good enough. If breathed in, move person to fresh air. So if I were using this alone and I breathed this in to the point where I fell over and the can fell down and the stuff poured out on the floor right next to my nose, I'm a goner. So I don't think I'm going to use this, but I'd have to read up a little more about it to find out. Acetone, has it got a role to play? Sounds to me like this stuff might be a little too strong and dissolve plastics and things like that. Okay, so the lesson's not over because we are going to ask Mr. Internet what he thinks of all this stuff. Let's go and ask Mr. Internet. Okay, so you can see all I've done is just typed it into Google, actually into Bing in this case, and up comes some information about it. Here we are. Isopropanol. Oh, so this is isopropanol. This was the automobile cleaner. A liquid alcohol used as a solvent in the industrial production of acetone. Now, I saw another statement in here. Maybe over here. Isopropanol. Okay, so is it going to come out absolutely clear here? Somewhere I saw a statement that isopropyl alcohol is also known as isopropanol. It's the same stuff. One propanol and ethyl methyl ether. Okay, I don't have any ethyl methyl ether. Ether of these two I've got. I really wanted to see that statement there. Isopropyl alcohol, commonly called isopropanol. So there we are. So surprisingly enough, that spray can of barbecue gas with alcohol in it is the same as my little bottle of alcohol. It's the same stuff, except, oh, that's interesting. So nothing special about the Motor Master Electrical Contact Cleaner, except it can be sprayed in under force. Okay, now let's go to the next one here. So here's isopropyl alcohol. Look, that's the exact one I have right there. Commonly called isopropanol. So there we are. That's where I read this. What are the uses of rubbing alcohol? Prevents swimmer's ear. What? You're gonna pour that in your ear? Cleans minor cuts and abrasions. Hey, prevents acne. Treats poison ivy. What? Interesting stuff. Okay, we won't go into that because I don't think it's going to say good for repairing switches on old radios. That's not going to come up on there. Do I have another one? I have another one. Acetone. Acetone, or propanone. Propanone is an organic compound with a formula blah blah. It is the simplest and smallest ketone. So it's a different kind of solvent, I believe, from the others. It's colorless, highly volatile, flammable liquid, characteristic pungent odor. Acetone is miscible with water. It means you can mix it in water a bit. An important organic solvent in its own right. So what are we trying to dissolve inside this radio? Essentially organic materials, I believe. Things that have floated into the radio over the years and collected on these parts. Well, I certainly don't need 67 million tons. Acetone, what is it? Is it bad for you? Acetone, your body uses sugar, glucose, energy, eat, hormone. Oh my gosh, this what? No, come on, go away. Liver breaks down stored fat. It makes chemicals called ketones. Acetone is the main ketone. Your body makes acetone. Your liver breaks down stored fat. It makes chemicals called ketones. When fat is your body's primary source of fuel, you make extra ketones. Having too many is called ketosis. I've heard of this stuff. People who eat meat-only diets have a ketone-based. I won't say anymore because I don't know what I'm talking about. Some types of ketosis. So ketosis. And you can in your urine. Well, a doctor may test your urine for ketones. That's not really the deal here. It's a chemical found in nature. Okay. Tobacco. Acetone's a solvent, means to break down or dissolve substances like paint and varnish. That's why it's ingredient in nail polish removers, varnish removers, and paint removers. That's what I have here. Paint remover. Companies use this chemical to remove grease from wool. Remove grease from wool. Reduce the stickiness of silk. And make protective coatings for furniture and cars. Well, it should stay on the list, I guess, but if you're going to use it, you want to use it very carefully. What is this man doing? Oh, he's gone now. What was that man doing up there? Okay, we're ready to go. Okay, the hit parade is going to lose the acetone here. So there's my group of expert soldiers that are going to help me. This and this being the same thing, this being spray in and this being pour in. And I may pour it in. So we're going to start, as I mentioned, with this basically tone switches here, which as far as I know are working fine. But boy, they look dirty. And let's take a close look at them. And we'll see just how bad they really are. They're bad enough that at a glance you can't even tell the switch from the rest of the structure here. And I think last time I looked at these, I noticed that the slide part was actually quite clean because of the mechanical abrasion of the contacts rubbing. So you see the slide here is very, very clean, even though the rest of it is a filthy mess. That's probably why these switches work fairly well. Appear to work fairly well. This one looks like a neutral. It's not really operating in switches. Orchestra. So now this one doesn't look so good. But you know, these things too, if you operate them a few times, they sort of self-clean themselves. Let me get the camera set for a real tight close-up. We're going to take a real good look at this. Because the switches inside the radio that I'm having trouble, of course, I can't get inside and see them. I have to imagine they're really not a lot different from this. Look at all the moving parts in there. I'm going to push the switch. Can't see because of the yellow wire here, but the other contacts just, of course, out of sight. Let's pick this one here. Now when you take a closer look, you know what, this is just not quite getting in there. Come on. Got to switch the camera angle around here. Maybe just more like what I'm seeing. Okay, so if we look at the contact area there, so another thing about these switches, if they're clean, they have a nice sharp snap, and if they're dirty, that's not too bad. If they're dirty, the slide will be slowed down, or the slide speed will be retarded by the goop, and sometimes you even get a delayed snap. You push the button and the snap comes after. Yeah, this one's actually snapping pretty good. Look at the dirt on that one. See, now one contact there looks pretty bad. But that shows you the area that needs to be clean. It's just this little tiny part of it where the contacts are, of course. Look at this one. There, now I got a good shot. So another thing too is how hard are those little contact fingers pushing down on the surface. This one you can actually see see it here. Let me just. It's gonna snap. I'm gonna try to stop it from snapping here. No, I can't. How come it didn't go back? Okay, here we go. You hear it push down now. The other. Is that the end of the row? That's the end of the row for this switch. It's either like that or like that. Okay, goody. Now, what are we going to do? We're going to try some different chemicals on here. Let's start with alcohol. That's normally what I start with. I figure it's the most gentle thing. Now I know I could just spray this thing with that contact cleaner, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put it on with a paintbrush for some silly reason here. So this is just isopropanol. I guess if you say isopropanol, you don't have to say isopropyl alcohol. So you save yourself a couple of save yourself a little bit of talking. Now, in doing this, just working this switch, I'm just counting on that contact surface to clean itself. Of course, there's a contact surface underneath those fingers you can't really get at. You never want to put sandpaper on these things. Sandpaper will leave little bits of sand, and then you have sand rolling around underneath these contacts. You can end up with a much worse situation. So, do you think I'm really cleaning it? Is it being cleaned in a lasting way? Like, it's going to work fine, and then once this stuff all evaporates, it'll be back to nothing. Next one. Now, oh, look at this. Okay, so this looks bad because the contact fingers are dragging over top of dirty parts. You might guess the bottom of the contact fingers are dirty too. And we can't see how much. Yeah, so this one definitely will benefit from something. Okay, let's give them the alcohol. Nothing like alcohol in the morning. There we are. Okay. So I'm holding down one button so the lock doesn't work, so I can just push this one back and forth. Now here, I have the opportunity to get in there with a toothbrush and all kinds of stuff, but the switches inside the radio is what I'm thinking about. So did it? I don't think it's cleaning it. Could be it's just not making contact there. Sure seems loosey-goosey under that one contact on the right. Okay, so we'll try abrading it. And I would like to use a dry toothbrush to start with. Have I got something like that? I have a wet toothbrush, which I do not want to use. I think I have a really cool dry one. Here it is. That's in case you need to comb something. Looks pretty good, clean wise. Okay, now we're gonna, I think I've kind of dried up the switch there. Let me just change the focus here again and focus it like that. There, and that should hold its focus better. Okay, we hit it with a little more alcohol. Still staying with the alcohol. Alcohol plus abrasion. Gentle abrasion. Banging into that capacitor there. I'm getting the Doesn't look like it's working very well. So, you know, I can't do this inside the other switches. I can't get a brush in there. Okay, so I'm going to take something pointed and scratch right on that stuff and see if it comes on. Oh yeah, look at that. You see, I'm just barely pushing on it, and off it comes. So a little bit of firm abrasion would be excellent for this. So, and, you know, another approach, and I can do it here, is to apply some pressure right on the spring part. But so, you know, is that really any better than it was? Is that an improvement? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push the button part way and expose that area. Now, what better thing could I use to abrade it? A very fine little brush, but I don't have such a thing. I don't think. Okay, let's try a different solvent and see. This is an experiment here. Okay, so that little bit of black there, I am now going to give it the WD-40 treatment here. Just a little dab. I'm going to contaminate my brush. I don't think this is going to be any different. Another thing I'm looking for in these switches, just push the camera down here a little bit, is as the contact slider slides under the finger, or you can see the finger lift, or I can feel it, or I can see some proof that the contact finger is applying pressure to the switch. Can you see it go up there? It goes up a little bit. I mean, it's also putting a scrape mark on the surface. Well, I'm going to finish this one off by mechanically scratching off the rest of the junk here. If I can get at it. This is more than a little awkward. And it just takes nothing to knock it off. Just the lightest little touch, but it takes something. It takes nothing, but it takes something. What about underneath the switch? So, you know, you could slide something. The only thing I would ever suggest you ever try to slide under there, like get between the finger and the sliding contact surface, is a thin piece of paper. Now that's kind of interesting. Let's try that. Now, a thin piece of paper. Well, just really any piece of paper. Any piece of paper. A nice little piece of paper. I want to try to slide this. Let me just give you the long shot here for a moment so you get an idea of what I'm up to. Okay, so I'm going to try to slide this piece of paper up under the contact. Easy. That was too easy. So I want to release the slider underneath, so it's underneath. So these are now pushing on this paper. So I'm going to help them out. Try to push them both down a little bit. I have to do it one at a time. And you'll pull the paper out and see if it leaves a skid mark. Oh, crying out loud. This is all my clumsy fingers here. See the skid mark. Do the other one here. Now, obviously, I can't, look at that. I can't do this. I don't think I can do it with the main switches, the push buttons. This has to be like that. It's not so easy to get under. And if I pry these up, I run the risk of loosening them. That's under. There. Okay. I will pull it along here. Push some pressure. Dirty fingers now. Okay. This is probably overkill, but let's just keep going. This is nothing. This is the switch here. Okay, let me just readjust the camera for focus here. It's one of the few times I'm really relying on the camera view. Or at least it's very helpful to me. Okay, so this one's kind of hidden a little bit in here. We're going to give it the alcohol first. A little bit of switch action here. That looks really good because it's clean all the way across. You can imagine that there's a little moraine at the end of the run where it's picking up and scraping the dirt off and then building up a little moraine of it at either end. Okay, it's really not that. Let's see if we can get a piece of paper up under there. Ooh, some new paper. Okay. Under. No, didn't quite get under. Oh, I left a little piece of paper there now. Yes, so I complained about, look at that. I complained about, don't look at that. Sandpaper leaving sand. The paper leaves fibers. I don't want that under there. Son of a gun. Let's keep going with the paper and maybe it'll clean itself out. Snap back. Papers. Here we go. one of these contacts doesn't appear to make this one. Yeah, I can feel it there. That's not much. Okay. Lovely job. Really? You think so? I had some kind of a better pencil eraser. I think I've heard pencil eraser can be used for doing these things. Now that would leave some rubber debris too if you actually really worked it. Now do I have a pencil with an eraser on it? No, I don't think I have one in here. An eraser on it. Okay. This one's gone hard. Doing a nice looking job. I can push this down a little further. Now either it's cleaning it off or it's just smearing it so thinly I can't see it anymore. Yeah, that's good. I like that. Can I do that back here? It's a little hard on this one. This is clumsy enough too. If I could hook one of these tangs, one of these contacts, spring-loaded contacts, and spring contacts. And also I'm cleaning off surfaces now that actually aren't all that important. Look at that. Now, I did this one, didn't I? Did I? That's the first one I did. That looks terrible compared to the others. Get it clean right in here. I need more alcohol on it. Piece of rubber. One part looks super shiny. I think this part is bent a little bit. The shiny part is just a different angle on the light, making it look extra clean. Okay, one last one here, and then we got to deal with the real problem. Okay, so this one's up under here, under this wire, but now it's not. Okay, alcohol. Yeah, just comes off with paper towel too, but not like that pencil eraser. Let's go back with that. Now, a little hard to get that last little tidbit there. Okay, I mentioned moraine. A moraine is a pile of dirt left at the end of a glacier as it recedes. And of course I live in Canada. Canada was a country completely covered by ice 12,000 years ago. The whole thing, virtually the whole country covered in ice, a lot of ice. The ice here at one point would have been a couple miles high, so it's like 10,000 feet of ice above my house. And the ice, when it leaves and we move in, as the people moved into this area about 1,000 years after the ice pulled away. That would be about 8,000 years ago. They come in, they look around. You see what is left after the last glacial event in your area, which is normally gigantic flooding. But everything is erased prior to that. You have no idea what this area looked like or anything. It looks nice now, doesn't it? I'll do the paper thing to try to clean off the contacts. So I spend a fair bit of time when I'm not in my shop reading up on glaciers and the great mystery of the glacier that covered North America, and I guess Europe too, had the same mystery. Where did it go? Well, it went into the ocean. We know that sense. How did it go so fast? What would normally take 100,000 years of recession took about 8,000 years. How did that happen? No one's got a good answer for that. The mystery is, if you're melting ice, you have the latent heat of melting that you must supply to melt it. So in other words, when ice is melting, its temperature doesn't go up as you apply heat to it. It absorbs the heat through chemistry, if I can use the word chemistry. It absorbs the heat, and you have to supply it, and it's a lot. It's a lot. So where did the heat come from that melted the great glaciers in 8,000 years? And there's some interesting answers to that question. Theories, no answers, just theories. So when I'm driving around with my wife in this area, and anywhere I go now, I've learned enough about glaciers to recognize the glacial. Everything you see when you're here in Canada, everywhere you go, everywhere you go, everything you see is the result of glaciation. Ice sheet glaciation. I'm not getting it under that other contact, no matter what I do. So we're going to have to just put up with one. So considering I wasn't having much trouble with this guy to begin with, at least I don't know that I was. I should be careful about what I say here. Precision's important. Don't think there was any problems. Think if there were, they're gone now. So now we got to turn our attention to the real challenge. What do we learn here? So we learn that abrasion, mechanical abrasion, is really important in getting the gunk off of these things. Or did I just chicken out and didn't put the most powerful solvents in place for that? I don't know. So I think I'm going to want to flip this guy over. Well, let's start by looking from the top. Hey, that's a good idea. You want to look too? I'll use this camera here. I'm going to take a look down from the top because I didn't try any. Here, I can look up this way. I didn't try any cleaner from the top. I tried it from the switch end. I tried to blow it up into the where are you? Tried to blow it up into the switch rather than drip it down through. Drip it down through is a lot better. Here's some of the switches. You can see through this porthole here. You can see all kinds of slots into which I could spray junk. No doubt about it. See, now the WD-40 has this nice red hose, but I can transfer it to the spray-in alcohol, which I believe to be fairly harmless. So the switch I'm interested in, so I don't know if you can see it, but there's a mechanical movement over yonder there. That's where I want to go. Way in over there. Am I going to be able to spray this can with it tipped on a funny angle? I don't know. Let's see what happens here. So I'm hoping just the pressure and everything just blasts. Just blast it in there. Just blast it in. Now we know it's alcohol. I'm not afraid of it. Okay, we're going to work the switch here. Oops, that's the wrong one to push. This one. Now, of course, didn't I conclude this was not the switch? The switch I'm worried about is actually underneath. So let's give this guy a good workout. Incidentally, you notice this mechanism going? Did I explain this mechanism at some point? I may not have. Okay, so I'm going to be pushing the... that looks like that could use a little bit of help too. Yeah, it's not settling back properly. So this guy needs a bit of lubrication. So I could spray in the solvent stuff to blow away the old lubricant, or I can just throw in some WD-40 or oil. I could also put oil in there. The string is right there, so I don't think we want to be spraying crazy stuff in there. Yeah, you know what, this would be better? Brush it on, I think. And what exactly am I trying to achieve? Trying to get the dust out of there? Is that what I'm trying to do? Let's get more light on it. What am I trying to do exactly? It was sticking. Let's make it stick again. And is it sticking because... What exactly is sliding on what? I'll get my finger in there. Well, you can see that spool slides. Oh, just work the switch down. And see how it's pushed, again, a moraine of junk up. We're going to get rid of that junk. That junk is the old oil. We'll get rid of that junk. And I can just rotate the shaft. Oh, this will be easy then. I just got to put a cloth in there or something. Gather it all up. What about the other end of that shaft? When we just keep working on it, I think it's going to get looser and looser. Oh, see it stick there? You can tell it's sticking. If I turn the shaft, maybe it'll settle. Yeah, see that? Now there is some engagement issues here where you see how it has little fingers that engage with that white plastic. The white plastic is the thing I'm turning with my hand here. And then those gears with the teeth. See that tooth? And that tooth could all, when I first pushed this, it could collide with a tooth and then sit out there and then do that and it falls in place. And that might be what I'm seeing. Let's clean that baby up. Now, how am I going to get in there and do that? My finger's going to go in there? Not really. So I'll grab a little bit of paper towel here. Grab it with my pliers and just stick it down in there and see what we can do. So this will get the bulk of it off. This will be hair and other junk. Like if you look just to the right, it's not really apparent in the camera. This surface here is covered in dust. Yeah, it's just not good in the camera. You can see the dust. All that dust, yeah, finds its way into these gears, and with a little bit of oil there, builds up more and more. I don't know if I really need to clean it any further so much as I need to oil it. And I don't think there's anything I can really do about the gears themselves. They've got some dirt in them, but what can you do about that? So I want to put some oil on there, but I sure don't want to shoot it in. And let me get some oil. Quick lesson. I don't like to say the word lesson, but here's something I know about these oils. 3 in 1. One says, what's it saying? Multi-purpose. Is that word is just above the word oil. Multi-purpose oil, 3 in 1. This one says motor oil, not engine oil. Motor oil. Quarter horsepower motors are larger. This is not natural oil. This is synthetic oil. This is natural oil. This stuff will dry out and gum up. This stuff. Good to go all the way to Mars and back. So this is the stuff you want to use. Motor oil, not engine oil. I'm going to just put a drop there, so I don't think I'm going to stick this whole jar down there. I gotta drip it with something. What would I drip it with? A nice wooden stick. So somehow I've got to get a little oil on a stick. And then drip it on there. This probably won't go all that well. Ooh, what did I just do here? That's what happens when you operate the mouse with your left hand. And you're right-handed. Okay, oil onto the stick. Stick, dripping it where I want it. Right in there. I think I got it. Okay, work it quick. Quick, 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 quick. That's going to take a little while. Now, there's another hole. There's exactly the same thing on the other end of the shaft. Still sticky, isn't it? So I'm going to give it a little bit of WD-40 here. Because it comes with the solvent action. And we have some heavier oil in there I just put in. This on the string. I don't want it here. I'm aiming for this back shaft. Goodness gracious, I can't do it. I'm going to go down in here. Not really fully sure how that's going to help, but I don't think it's going to do any harm. Okay, work the switch here. Now that's snapping pretty good. FM. Now, is that honking big piles of junk there? Is that what that is? Maybe I can get it out of there. I have a hooky tool somewhere. There it is. Okay. It is. It's just piles of ugly dust. How do you get it out of there? Can't get a vacuum down here. It's kind of stuck anyway. I don't know if I'm doing it. Am I doing a good thing here? At least I'm getting a better look at what the situation is. Because you get enough dust in there, I guess it could maybe block this from moving properly. What happened? Did I do something to it? That's FM, AM, FM, AM, FM, AM. Something is not sliding as well as it should. The thing about oil too is, oil will travel. So if you stick oil in these parts, it'll travel up onto the string, and I'm sure we don't want that to happen. So I may have a little too much oil in there. reach the end of the run, see how the string is no longer moving? And the pointer's at the end of the run. See how the where the string is going through, see how it's shaped in a U shape? And the string is slowly walking across that U shape as I turn it. It doesn't seem to go across at all. So a lot of these bobbins, I call them, they have a flat bottom and the string wanders across and gets to the far side, the shoulder. And at that point, either it slides back on the shaft, and you keep feeding extra string in at the bottom there, it keeps pushing the turns of string back, or it starts climbing up the side of the spool. And you feel that in the tuning. You can't see it in some radios, it's hidden from view, especially if you're examining a radio at a yard sale or something like that. You turn this and it goes from being okay to getting tighter, 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 tighter. Time to stop turning the wheel, because ultimately the string is starting to kind of wrap on top of itself, kind of make a stupid knot right in there. And then as you turn it further, you'll pull the string until something breaks. And that's not what's going on here. This is working perfectly fine. Great. FM. So a lot of these European radios, they use this technique, and they have two pointers and two tuning systems, and you're switching between them by pushing the buttons out here. Trouble happens in this thing. I think this one's fine though. Really don't know what more we could do with it. It's another one of those cases where you fool around until you wish you hadn't. So on the back spool, the FM spool that the string is moving on now, see it walking across the spool? Now it got that far and it stopped, because as I feed more string in, the turns of string are being pushed back on the spool. In some radios the spool becomes really rusty because they've been sitting for 30 years and the string cannot slide back on the spool. So again, you reach the end and it starts climbing up the wall, and eventually it doubles over itself and makes kind of a stupid knot. Not really a knot, but feels like it. And as you tune it, it stops. The situation can be recognized by this too. You can only get this far before you think any further I'm going to break it, and if you go back and come forward, you can go a little further. Back and forward, go a little further. Those are all signs that the string is bunging up in the radio. And you best not force it. Don't force it. And there you can see at the end of the run it just slides. You can actually see the slack in the string coming and going. Gives you an idea that there is a bit of grip there still. Okay, wow, I beat that all to heck. I still haven't gotten to the real joy of today's shop session, which is, well, I did actually. No, there's one more switch under there. Okay, let's get that last switch. Then we're going to test it. And then I'm going to get on with all the other things I need to do. Here. So I'm going to flip this guy over to get access underneath. I'm going to take all my newfound knowledge and observations and use the power of my imagination. See if I can't figure out how to fix it. Oh, I gotta put a thing on top here. Ah. Okay, that's gonna take me a minute. I'll get this set up and we'll get going again. Okay, I just like to record things where there's some risk because it's exciting to watch. So I'm gonna take this guy on here. I see a risk I haven't reduced. This doesn't have the top on it. Let's reduce risk. Took some kind of a aptitude test when I was a kid in, I don't know, grade 6 or something like that, and grade 6 or 8. And it turned out I was in the 98th percentile of, I'm going to forget the term. Risk aversion. That's what it is. I'm on the 98th percentile of grade 6 kids on risk aversion. I wasn't even sure what it meant. Success. Success. A little out of balance, but it's okay. Okay. The switch I'm really interested in is this one up here. Now, is there any way of opening it up and looking inside? I just can't imagine there is. But there's lots of opportunity to spray through holes here, and probably opportunity to spray through here. And now I know this guy. So I'm going to take the red. I only have one red hose. So red hose was on the WD-40. So there's a touch of WD-40 in the red hose. Perfect. So alcohol, WD-40, everything all at once. Trying to spray into the. I think I sprayed in here before. Let's try this one. Definitely smells like a doctor's office in here when yeah, nothing in there. Let's go right up here. Get sprayed in the eyes. So I'm trying to get a lot of liquid inside here. That's what I'm trying to do. Of course, we already know that abrasion is really, really important in success here. There's a nice slot right there. Okay, work the switch. Something doesn't feel right at all. It's not releasing all the way. It does like that. Maybe I got this pulled too tight. I don't know. No way to know if we succeeded here without trying the radio. Now, while I got it upside down, is there any others that I want to mess around with? I didn't think any of the others were in trouble, but who's to say? Again, you know, I spray this alcohol in there. It's hardly having any effect, as we saw from that earlier experiment. So, if I think it's okay, I should leave it. Don't fix things that aren't broken. It's testing time. We're going to find out if we've had success or not. Switch is off. Real McCoy speakers hooked up. Antenna still on the FM connection. Switch is off. How's that sound? Ooh, that sounds nice, eh? Well, they sound great. And do you notice how nice and clean these are now? Aren't they beautiful? Wow. That took a long time to clean these buttons this morning. And the glass. The fantastic thing about these is, if you're going to buy an old radio and it's all got dirt all over the front, the guy's going to sell it to you cheap, but it's a piece of glass and you can make it look like that again. Same thing with these buttons. Look at them. They look beautiful. Okay, that's a small delay before plugging it in. Plugging power cords in. Everything's in. Everything's ready. We'll go on the dim bulbs here first. Switch is definitely off. Let me take this thing out of here because it can interfere with the travel of the pointer. Get them out. You can come down out of the sky. Get a little closer. Get a good look at the sparks when they fly. Okay, so we're going to start with AM radio. Just, I like to start with the AM radio. Sounds dramatically different than the last time I played this. So the stations I can pick up are, where are we here? Down in this area. Look at that. That's how powerful the noises are in here. Oh, you know what? Hey, I don't have the switch set plugged in, and it's working. Maybe I never needed it all this time. That's probably why the tone is different. Oh, there's some nice high sounds coming out of there. I heard the station. The antenna's aimed wrong. Where'd it go? We don't really even care about this. I heard the station, that's enough. It's FM we're concerned about. Let's work our way there. K-band.
This is our message. Dear friends, heaven is not light years away.
Okay, shortwave, good show. FM. The big test now.
Really thought as many men would fall over themselves for the chance to be in charge of the king's stool. If you wanted to make your way up the ladder in the royal kingdom, being groom of the stool was disgustingly effective.
That's what I am. When it comes to red
I
cats.
think your career has hit bottom. Just be glad you're not a groom of the stool.
Oh, this is going to be...
Right back.
The volume's way up. Let's turn it down, because I think it's going to jump up when I plug this in. Hey! Way down. That made a huge difference.
Was a very odd technique used in the world of marketing. It was called industrial musicals. Brands would actually hire the top Broadway composers to create musicals about their companies or products. Then, top Broadway performers would be hired and the show would be extravagantly staged, not for the public, but for the company's sales force. Think of it as a big musical motivation speech. Season 5, episode 23 was titled When Madison Avenue Met Broadway, the Industrial Musical. The opening story was about how one industrial musical led to one of the most revered novels of all time.
There's gonna be a party here tonight. The sills are shining and the lights are bright. We put away the broom and mop. It's time for all of that to stop. There's gonna be a party here tonight.
That ditty is from an elaborate JCPenney sales conference in the early 1960s. It's an important little piece of marketing history, because without that JCPenney tune, the iconic novel To Kill a Mockingbird might not exist. Composer Michael Brown met James Cash Penney in the early 50s. James Cash Penney, also known as J.C. Penney, established the J.C. Penney chain in 1902. Penney hired Brown to write industrial musicals for his company beginning in 1952. In the post-war days, corporations like J.C. Penney would stage elaborate musicals to motivate their sales force. These were big song and dance shows penned by the top Broadway composers, performed by top Broadway talent on big stages. They were on par with the biggest Broadway musicals of the day, with one exception. Industrial musicals were written to sing the praises of companies. And that's how Michael Brown came to meet J.C. Penney. Meanwhile, Brown and his wife Joy had met a new neighbor of theirs in New York. She was an aspiring writer from Alabama who worked the ticket counter at Eastern Airlines. Her name was Harper Lee. The Browns liked her a lot. One Christmas, Michael and Joy Brown took some of the money from one of Michael's lucrative J.C. Penney industrial musicals and gave Harper Lee a gift. It was a check worth a year's salary tucked inside a card that said, "You are free to take 1 year off to write whatever you like."
Centering.
With that incredible gift, Harper Lee wrote To Kill a Mockingbird. The movie version of To Kill a Mockingbird is This last opening story was, by far, the one that generated the most feedback over the past 15 years. The subject of the episode was #1 brands. We talked about which brands were #1 in the car category, the cereal category, the coffee category, and more. And it's often surprising to discover which brands are, in fact, #1. To set the table for that episode, we told the story of Secretariat, the remarkable racehorse who was #1 in his field by far. He was born on March 30th, 1970. Time magazine said he had a neck like a buffalo and a back as broad as a sofa. He generated a crackling
Minimum volume. Still hear it.
wherever he went. ESPN ranked him the 35th best athlete of the 20th century. By 2 years of age, he was a legend. His name was Secretariat. By all accounts, there has never been a greater racehorse.
So what I've just realized,
Was a specimen.
I'm going to switch it off now because we're done this phase. I'm satisfied the buttons are good, and so any difficulties in the operation of the radio will not be linked back to the buttons, and for sure I can always check by pushing them and wiggling them. The next step now is to take a look at the alignment in this radio and that. But what I'm unfortunately just realized is the program that we've been listening to, which is one of my favorite programs I enjoy listening to on the CBC. That's a Canadian Broadcasting Corporation here in Canada. It's probably copyrighted, and I'm probably going to get a big copyright hit. So you'll know if what I'm talking about, you don't know what I'm talking about, because I had to cut it out of the video. I hope not, because it's a very interesting show. Anyway, I think I'm pretty happy with the situation now. I'm ready to move on to what is probably the last stage. Thanks a lot for watching.